antlers, assumptions, and artillery. So, from that smile on your face, I'm going to assume the first training session went very well. Admiral Crosswind notes as a very smug Mangowa enters her office. Indeed, Mangowa says, slinking down into the seat. The boy is a right throwback to before the Shrikatalons became pacifists, and damn if that's not fertile ground to grow an absolute war machine. That's good, but can he be taught to control himself? This man has nursed the rage and need for vengeance in himself for decades, and has tasted blood and victory. Are we going to lose control of him? Maybe, maybe not. He calms right down when the fight's over. Once his heart stops pounding, he goes from a berserker to a sassy but mostly respectful man, Mangowa states before leaning forward in the chair. Where did you find a fucking Shrikatalon with actual bloodlust? What's going on? One of our bounty hunting teams was working with the sorcerer village we've set up on Serbo. They had just expanded to Lilb, where they found a massive criminal organization full of pedophiles and designed to cater to them. Jacob is one of the escaped products who turned around and decided to come back with intent to sabotage, then kill the group. But he underestimated its size and nearly killed the much larger and more cohesive operation that was about to be launched. They intercepted him, got him on the main strike team to calm him down, and he signed up. The mean streak was already there, as was a lot of combat abilities. Admiral Crosswind explains as Mangowa leans back again to absorb the story. And then the Admiral smirks. I don't think the recruiting party had any idea what they were signing up. They're human, and the whole species is playing catch-up in a big way. They had no way of knowing they've gotten their hands on a throwback to the most violent and brutal subspecies of the Valram. Does he have any signs of the... Well, he doesn't seem to even consider torture, but he was only fighting holograms, so who knows? He might have the old appetite where the only proper meat is something that died screaming. But it is something to watch. The old movies are not exaggerations. Some ancient Shrikatalon enclaves were full-on cannibalistic. Indeed, Shrikatalon bloodlust almost caused the Valran as a whole to be quarantined instead of uplifted, although his plumage suggests he's of the Red Feather tribes instead. Admiral Crosswind considers. Crossbreed, I've been in the Shrikatalon enclave here on Zalwar a couple of times. He may not have the feathers of a Shrikatalon, but he's got the face, the voice, and pretty much everything else. A quick dye job on his feathers, and he'll be lost in any crowd there, Finn, Mangowa states as she leans forward. I had a heart-to-heart with him before training. He's stable, but has forgotten his own history. He doesn't know just how normal he really is. He only knows about the modern pacifist Shrikatalons, and only from an outsider's perspective. He's of the opinion that his people would take one look at him and run screaming. You think differently? The Shrikatalons are a lot of things. Pretentious as fuck, preachy and annoying. But I've pressed plasma guns right to their heads and barely got a blink out of them. They're Valran to the fucking core, which means they've got a mean streak longer than some galactic laneways and a long memory for insult. They just don't use violence to show it. Am I going to have to avoid sending you to a certain enclave? I paid that debt back and the insult is officially forgotten, so I'm fine. But I do suggest that you send Jacob there to at least talk to his own people. He needs his heritage, even if just a little. He needs more than the tourist summary of the Shrikatalons. It might be interesting to see if he becomes a proper ancient butcher bird, Admiral Crosswind remarks. Not sure you want someone who ritualistically impales everything he wants dead on long spikes to bake and bleed in the sun as part of your forces. That's a little hardcore. Mangowa states and Admiral Crosswind nods. It is, but it's something to consider. It was the last major type of combatant that the Shrikatalons produced. I hope you'll forgive me if I'm a little paranoid that such a thing may emerge again. I'm about to be told to watch for butcherbird traits, aren't I? Mangowa asks. No, just report it if that screaming shit show rears its ugly head, Admiral Crosswind says before sighing. Do any of the humans in the Undaunted even understand the potential harm and danger this one man represents? Chug, 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 chug! The table of men surrounding him chants as they pound their fists in time with his swallows. He has a special shirt on that's upping his digestive abilities to rival that of a human and pounding back an entire pitcher of booze. He slams down the plastic container, and there's a cheer as it's empty. He holds up his wings and lets out a gigantic burp that's been building since the second swallow. "You're crazy, man. Completely crazy," the guy next to him exclaims, pulling him into a half hug, even as an entire feast of the best snacks the hall has to offer are smacked down in front of him. He licks his lips in anticipation. He has a whole array of new foods to sample. If he likes it, he'll get a full digestion tattoo. But first, it's time to feast. Spicy seafood pizza to start. Considering that almost every last human is a self-admitted madman with a strong capacity for violence, they might see it more as a boon than a downfall. Let's not make any false assumptions here. When the humans learn of the Shrikadalon history, we're going to see at least a few of them try to get Shrikadalon recruits because of the bloody past. Mangowa dismisses things with a shrug. Of course, with how long they've been a part of the galaxy, humans have a much more recent and, to be honest, sadistic past. I've read the reports on their world wars. Those were sadistic and far from long ago. They're proper apex, almost always at war in some way, Admiral Crosswind says before an alert comes up. And he's testing an Axiom product to allow others to temporarily eat human food. He's binge drinking and eating high-grade poisons. You know what? Never mind about my damn concerns. Jacob fits right in. To be honest, I'm wondering if I can get a shirt like that. It sounds like a great way to sample things before making a fairly big decision, Mangowa notes. You took the brand. After that, a simple digestion tattoo should be nothing to you. Admiral Crosswind protests. Eating more exotic foods is a pointless vanity. There's enough food of every type imaginable that I could try something new every day, and it will take centuries, if not millennia, before I run into something dangerous. But if I want to skip to the risky stuff, fine, whatever. If Jacob isn't going to snap in some way and you're willing to go through all the legal hoops for what you want, then I don't care. Back to the proper topic, training him. What is he lacking? Patience. He needs to learn to hold off for a few minutes and consider things. If the problem isn't solvable by a burst of violence, audacity, or a long con, then he's going to make mistakes. But that mistake can easily be stepped around if he learns to take a few breaths and plan things out. Casing a place or laterally moving towards his goals will make him an absolute nightmare to deal with. As it is now, he's a deadly threat to his enemies. But if you ward off the first attack, he's got only a few other ideas. So you'll be dragging him into the hollow chamber more often? Admiral Crosswind asks. Yes, I've also been thinking how to turn this into a multi-person thing. Emphasize planning maybe, and rotate the position of team leader. Sounds like a plan. The trainees I'll be sending to you will be a lot like Jacob, cultural baggage and history aside, in that they'll be combat machines and more than capable in a few areas to make them powerful special forces. But they'll have some weaknesses in need of a tune-up. Planning is likely to be the biggest one. It's far easier to teach someone to fight than to think, which is why you gave me Jacob to work with. Good fighting skills, but needs a brush up on his planning. Actually, we sent him to you because he has always been signed up for additional training. The moment he signed up, he requested advanced training, and due to the trouble of incorporating him in, it's been delayed until now, Admiral Crosswind says. Delayed with what? The Undaunted need more of everything, and a ship captain who comes with his own ship is more important than another commando who can break a bunker alone. So they've had him acting as a ship captain first and foremost. He will in fact be going back to it after his training is finished. He's one of the main transporters from Albreth, and he brings us new recruits by the thousands each time, Admiral Crosswind says. Well, if you expect me to teach those thousands, that's not what you're handling, don't worry. Now, is there anything else you suggest with Captain Shrikadalon, beyond getting him to be in proper touch with his roots and not just looking at them from a distance? Not really, although he will need someone there he can trust, or someone who's good at dealing with such things, someone patient and reliable. I think you'll need a bit more than that, Bjorn says in amusement as Lils pushes on his back. They'd taken to lounging around one of the parks, and she'd been trying to offer him a massage. Or rather, she was getting her hands on him and trying to relax knots that were solid enough to forge metal on. Her answer was to take off her heels and step onto his back. She tries bouncing a few times, and after a bit there is a crunch as things relax and Bjorn lets out a sigh. There we go! Finally, there's a downside to having a man made of metal cables wrapped around a steel frame. Lils cheers as she hops on his back. The upside is you can do silly things like this without even dreaming about hurting me. A little Lyrak man would have been hurt by this. Bjorn counters and Lils crouches down. A little higher. Oh. You know, there are ways of making you look like a Lyrak. It's not real, but it's not hard. Oh, getting tired of me being a big ape? He asks, and she bounces a little on her toes. She then fully kneels down and her knees dig in, and pop, another bit of relief for Bjorn. You know you could have popped all this with Axiom, she says, and he shrugs. Sure, but then you have one less excuse to get your hands on me, he says, and she scoffs. No, really, I know how. Do you? She asks. I do, he says. Prove it. She challenges him and he snorts before the Axiom swirls and there is a massive crunching noise, and Bjorn seems to deflate a little. Oh, wait, you were walking around stiff and sore because you know we like to… Oh, indeed, he says, reaching back with a great deal more flexibility than he had a minute ago and sweeping her into his arm. She giggles as he traps her under him, but holds himself off to not crush her flat. She tilts her head up and rests her forehead right on the collarbone. I don't really get it. Get what? He rumbles at her. Why you give so much, even little things like not stretching out all your knots and kinks, so we have an excuse to feel good for helping you, Lil says, and he huffs a little. I like it when you girls are feeling good. I like it when the people close to me are having a good time. It's a small and easily given sacrifice. Sacrifice, Lils mutters, and she cuddles down deeper into the fake cave that is Bjorn resting on his elbows. Then she scurries out, and with a tiny amount of Axiom, she skitters onto his massive shoulders and then slinks onto and stretches out against his back. Her back to his as she looks up. That's it, isn't it? That's the whole thing. Sacrifice for family. Giving for it. At its core, Bjorn says, and she lets the back of her head rest in the curve of his neck. What happens if someone isn't willing to sacrifice for family? Then they're not really family, are they? Bjorn asks, and she pauses. Got it, she says and giggles. Not sure what I have to give that you don't already have, though. I don't have anything to give you. Don't already have you, Bjorn says, and she turns over and rests on her stomach against his back. Me? That's it? She asks. Just give of yourself to being part of the family. That's what I'm doing. So what if more is coming with it? That's just gravy. Or maybe a cherry on top if you like dessert instead. She hums before leaning forward to kiss him on the cheek. I was supposed to make you like me more. You went and pulled the big old reverse on me. Bjorn just lets out a huff of amusement.